This is the flat eye model, and this part is the lens. This big area back here is the posterior segment, and the area that is in front of the lens, anterior to the lens, that is the anterior segment, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. While we're here, let's come back and look at our layers. This is the sclera. This dark brown is the choroid. As it comes up to here, it expands into the ciliary body, which we're going to see continued down here, and it extends anteriorly to become the iris. So we'll take a view from the other side in a few moments to let you see that it's the iris. This is the retina, and this model is a good place to see how the retina just comes anteriorly and it ends. So what I'm tracing here would be the ora serrata, the serrated edge of the retina. And so what we're looking at from this view, let me move around. So let's move the camera around so you're seeing it from the end. What we're looking at here, these are the ciliary muscles. And I know they're the ciliary muscles because I can see how there are little suspensory ligaments coming off of these raised areas. You can see it really clearly over here. And these little thread-like fibers are the suspensory ligaments, and they come and attach to the lens. And when these ciliary muscles contract and relax, it changes the tension on the suspensory ligaments, and the lens is either going to flatten or it's going to become spherical in shape. And the areas in between, these little brown areas in between, that's your ciliary processes. So the ciliary muscles plus the ciliary processes form the ciliary body. Now, down here on this side, they are showing some of the blood vessels, and what they're trying to represent would be the capillaries that are in the ciliary processes. You're going to have fluid come out of the plasma, filter into this space in front of the lens, and where I have my pointer right now is a pretty small space. It would be anterior to the lens and posterior to the iris. Remember, the iris is over here. This is the posterior chamber of the anterior segment. Fluid's going to, and again, this is, fluid is being made in a 360-degree circle. That fluid's going to come through the pupil. It's going to pass into this area. So let me let my hand represent the cornea, which would be here, where this little blue area is. The area that's anterior to the iris but posterior to the cornea is where I've got the probe in right now. That is the anterior chamber of the anterior segment. And that fluid going to come from here, flow through here, and then it's going to go to the edges. And this little spot right here that I've got the pointer on, I'm going to take the pointer off here so you can see that it's going to remind you sort of the vein. That is a place that's called the scleral venous sinus. And that is where the aqueous humor is going to go through the scleral venous sinus, and it is going to come back into become part of the plasma again, and then you can see where the vein is going to just take that blood away from this part of the eye. Now, if we move over in this direction, and you're going to have to move a lot, you'll be able to see that we're looking at the iris right there, okay? And so this hole, of course, would be the pupil, and then the lens is really not very far away from that. The other feature on this model that I want to point out is actually over here. And we have retina model that shows this a little bit better, but this is showing the detail of the retina. So starting at the most superficial, which would be the area right up against choroid, which where I've got my pointer, that would be where the choroid is. These are the rods and cones. They synapse into bipolar cells. The bipolar cells synapse into ganglion cells, and then the axons of the ganglion cells sort of drape across the surface of the retina. They come to the optic disc, which would be this area right there, and then those axons leave in the optic nerve, which would be cranial nerve number 2. And I think those are the features that we can see on this particular model. It's the best model to be able to see those suspensory ligaments. And it's also the best model if you walk around to this side over here and look at it from this view. You'll be able to see the ciliary muscles and the ciliary processes quite nicely.